I traveled thousands of miles hoping to celebrate my birthday with my family, but when I arrived, I found only an empty house, a cake in the trash, and an unimaginable betrayal. They took my savings, left me a cruel note, and a mocking text message. But what I discovered later, hidden in the attic, was just the beginning of something much darker. It all started with a promise: we have something big planned for your birthday. So I took an 11-hour flight home. I imagined a warm welcome, some kind of surprise. But upon landing, the first thing I noticed was the silence. No messages, no calls. Nobody came looking for me. I went straight to our old house, the one I invested years of work and money in. I paid for the new apartment, the refrigerator, even the ridiculous smart doorbell that didn't even ring when I arrived. Just the hollow tap of my knuckles on the door. No one answered. It was unlocked. I went in. The place was dimly lit, the lights were off. The room looked deserted, with open boxes and shoes scattered on the floor, as if someone had left in a hurry. Then I saw it. A crooked sticky note, stuck to the refrigerator. I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was Rebecca's, my sister's. We used your money, $134,000. We bought the apartment. Enjoy your visit. On the counter, a cake still remained, half destroyed. Half of it was squashed inside a bin, and the red frosting bore writing, like something out of a crime scene. Happy birthday. My phone vibrated. A message from Rebecca. Thanks for the upgrade, bro. It's beautiful. That was his grand plan. That was their surprise. 7 years of saving, of hard work, of turning down trips, of lonely nights with spreadsheets and budgeting apps. All gone. Shameless. They didn't even try to hide it. I stayed there, in that cold house, contemplating the note, the messy cake, the emptiness of what we used to call home. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just opened a real estate app on my phone, and from that same ruined kitchen, I sold the house in less than 10 minutes. No drama. Without warning. But that was only the beginning. Because up in the attic, there was a box. One they should have destroyed, but didn't. And that changed everything. For the first 3 years after I graduated, I sent money home every month. It started with $500. Just until we get out of this mess, Dad said. Rebecca had lost another job. Mom needed medicine. The pipes were bursting. And, apparently, I was the only one in the whole family with a working PayPal account. Soon it became 1,000. Then 2,000. I moved to a smaller apartment just so I could continue helping. They called it support. I felt like I was chained down. And when it stopped being a choice, it became routine. I paid Rebecca's nursing tuition. She dropped out in the second semester. I bought a new transmission for Dad's truck. She sold it 3 months later to invest in cryptocurrencies. Mom said they were saving for retirement. But, magically, they ended up in Cabo celebrating Rebecca's birthday. Never mine. I never said anything. Because that's what I was taught. Being the reliable one, the go-to person, the one who never lets you down. Not once did they thank me. When I wired $8,000 to cover the property tax, Dad just sent a thumbs up emoji. Rebecca responded with a meme. Family is when your wallet doesn't need a password. It was a joke. Until it stopped being so. Last year they invited me for Christmas. I didn't go. I was overwhelmed with work. I said I would connect via Zoom. That I would send gifts. They never responded. On Christmas morning, I opened Facebook. There they were. In matching pajamas. Under a giant tree. Opening my presents. The caption read, with the people who really matter. The tagged ones. Rebecca. Mom. Dad. Even Brian. My sister's boyfriend. Not me. Not even a mention. I commented, Merry Christmas. They deleted it. 2 weeks later, Rebecca wrote to me. Can you help me with the deposit for the apartment? I'll pay you back next tax season. Love you. That was before the betrayal. Before the return flight. Before opening the attic and finding the box. But let's back up a bit. Before I went up to the attic, they added me to a new family group chat. I thought maybe they wanted to make amends. Nope. It was Rebecca sending selfies from her new home. Toasting with champagne. The caption: "The demonstration works." Dad replied, "You deserve it, princess." Mom added, "It couldn't have happened to a better daughter." Then came the blow. Rebecca wrote, "Apartment acquired thanks to our favorite silent investor." He attached a screenshot. It was my bank account. It wasn't a fake. It was real. Down to the last penny. $134,712 withdrawn. 3 separate transactions. Flawless. Stolen. And the message that chilled me to the bone. It only took a little password magic. Bless your wisdom, Stetch. You knew everything. My security questions. The backups. They used me as a tool. And they laughed while they did it. I didn't realize the extent of the damage until I went up to the attic. I asked the real estate agents for a week to pack my things. I wanted one last look. I found the box there. It had a label. Tax documents 2021. But there were no taxes inside. Only files. Photos. Captures. Printouts of my emails. Personal messages. Even my old journal scanned from Evernote. Printed. And another folder. Plan B. In case he finds out everything. Inside, fake evidence. Photos of Rebecca with bruises. It was obvious the images had been manipulated. Although you only had to look closely to notice. There were emails supposedly sent by me that I never wrote. They even included a fake letter confessing to something I never did. Signed with a scanned and pasted on signature. They had it all ready. Their plan was to frame me. If I went to the police, they had an alternative story ready. That I was unstable, violent, controlling. Rebecca already had written testimonies. My mother kept carefully written notes. My father, recordings manipulated with artificial intelligence. It wasn't by chance. They didn't just take advantage of me. They knew exactly what they were doing. But I didn't panic. I scanned every document, made copies, and uploaded them to the cloud. Then I sent them to a lawyer friend in Boston with a clear subject line. If anything happens to me, it starts here. The next day, I made my real move. I called the real estate agency and canceled the sale. I told them, let's go for a quick cash sale. It wasn't just about me leaving anymore, but about holding them responsible for everything. The first step was an invitation. A group message sent that same night, dinner. At the same place where I was scammed. Bring everyone. Rebecca replied with a laughing emoji. My mother responded with a lukewarm, let's not make a big deal out of it, honey. And my father simply wrote, if you're coming to apologize, come early. Perfect. I reserved a private room in the back of the restaurant where, a month earlier, they had celebrated the fake purchase of Rebecca's condominium. I asked the staff to be discreet. I made sure a couple of lawyer friends sat at the nearby bar. I placed an envelope with all the evidence on my table. At 6:56, they came in. Rebecca was at the front, with impeccable makeup, a fitted white dress, and the designer handbag I had paid for myself. My mother was behind her, stiff, looking around as if she were waiting for an intervention. And my father brought up the rear, feigning confidence with an already grumpy expression. He sat down without saying hello. You have 5 minutes, he said coldly. I smiled. You'd better give me double. Nobody ordered food. I didn't leave them alone. I placed the envelope on the table and slid it toward them. Rebecca let out a forced laugh. Divorce papers? He asked sarcastically. No, I replied. This is the truth. I took out my phone and played the first audio file. The sound was a bit distorted, but clear. My voice. I don't feel comfortable transferring that amount without documentation. Then, Rebecca's voice. Oh, don't be so paranoid. She's family. Her smile tightened. I moved on to the next file, a screen recording showing their messenger chat. She's typing, she won't even notice. She never checks her backups. I zoomed in on the date and time. My father frowned. I don't know what you're trying to prove with this, he muttered. Then I pulled out the screenshots I'd retrieved from the attic. Emails, images, forged messages. And finally, the USB drive. Rebecca paled. You went through my things, she blurted out, agitated. No, you left them at my house, in my attic, on a hard drive labeled, do not delete private _. My father looked confused. Which hard drive? I connected it to the laptop I had with me. A folder appeared, Plan B 2024. Fake files. Manipulated audio files. A document titled, audio_threat_mix_2. I played that file. Could I hear my voice? At least that's what they were trying to do. Phrases like, you're worthless. I always hated you, get out. But it all sounded ridiculous. The tone changed mid-sentence. The background noises didn't match. Technically terrible. Who did this? My father shouted. Rebecca didn't answer. I turned the laptop toward them and showed them the screen recording. Rebecca editing the audio on her computer. Her username is visible in the corner. They tried to frame me. I said in a low voice. With fake audio recordings, fabricated emails, manipulated screenshots. And they had everything prepared in case I ever decided to confront them. She exploded. You violated my privacy. You left all that in a property you stole from me. In a box I paid for, I replied. Then I took out my phone, opened the recording app, and placed it on the table. I didn't come here just to show you what you did. I came to record what follows. Turn that off, my father growled. Say goodbye. We're recording. Rebecca tried to hit the phone, but I grabbed her wrist before she could. If you touch it again, I'll escalate this legally. And that's when everything started to fall apart. My mother murmured. We didn't want it to go this far. I stared at her. How far did they want to go when they emptied my account, when they signed papers in my name, when they plotted to discredit me if I reacted? My father stood up abruptly, dragging his chair. You never appreciated anything. With everything we did for you. What they did, I retorted, raising my voice. They just took, they lied, and they let them destroy what I built. Rebecca stood up, ready to leave. I would have stayed seated if I were you. This isn't over, I warned her. And just then, the door opened. My companion, Kelly, Rebecca's former roommate, walked in. The same one she tried to blame last year for the disappearance of a laptop. Kelly smiled calmly. Hi, Rebecca, did you miss me? I turned back to the table. Kelly handed me the original audio files, the forged emails, and even the text messages where Rebecca boasted about how easy it had been to fake it. Seeing them, my father looked at Rebecca as if she had just exploded in front of him. He's lying, Rebecca whispered, her voice trembling. Kelly, without losing her composure, pulled out her phone and showed him a video. So why are you here saying, I know how to fake bruises? The video is unedited, with the date and time stamp. I sat down slowly, interlaced my fingers on the table, and spoke firmly. You don't have to admit anything tonight, but this is what's going to happen. I touched the envelope in front of me. This package is going to the police. This USB drive is in my lawyer's hands. And every file, every lie, has already been backed up 10 times. You wouldn't dare, my father spat through gritted teeth. I leaned slightly toward him and answered without hesitation. I already did it. My mother burst into tears. Rebecca began to tremble. And my father just stood there, his fists clenched and his shoulders slumped. They used my money to buy her an apartment, I said quietly. They tried to erase me from their lives. Well, now I'll be the one to step aside, forever. I grabbed my coat, put the memory stick in my pocket, and looked each of them straight in the eye. I am no longer your son. You are no longer my family. As of today, you are out of my life. And I left. Kelly followed me. We left behind that place filled with lies, silences, and collapses. Outside, the air was cold and clear. For the first time in 7 years, I felt like I was breathing like a free man. I didn't just leave a restaurant, I walked into a war room. The next morning, the envelope, the memory stick, and a 10-page summary were on Detective Alvarez's desk in the Financial Crimes Division. At first, he gave me that typical skeptical smile people give when they think it's just a family squabble over money. Then he played the first audio file. He didn't smile again. "Do you have more?" he asked. I handed him a printed report with all the bank transfers linked to my stolen credentials, emptied accounts, and mortgage documents signed with my full name. Everything counterfeit, stamped, and used. You know this could have very serious legal consequences, right? I know exactly what that means, I replied without hesitation. And I'm going to press charges. He nodded slowly. This could get ugly. I hope so, I said with a half smile. Less than 48 hours later, I received the first confirmation. The apartment Rebecca bought with my money was under immediate financial investigation. The title was frozen due to suspected fraud. The same property she had flaunted on social media was now untouchable by the law. Then came the second phase. I filed a civil lawsuit. Identity theft, financial harm, malicious intent. My lawyer attached all the evidence recovered from the attic hard drive, manipulated audio recordings, forged emails, and even a folder with his name on it in case he finds out. We delivered the court summons to Rebecca on a Monday at 8:02 a.m. She was in her bathrobe. The process server told me she screamed when she received it. My father was next. He didn't know I had discovered the altered tax returns. It turns out that when they moved my money, they used 3 different accounts. One of them was his company's tax return. That meant he had declared the stolen money as income. That detail turned my case into a federal matter. Tax fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion. The IRS letter arrived by certified mail, with return receipt requested. He refused to sign it, but it didn't matter. The next day, my father's lawyer left a voicemail for my lawyer. "Can we talk about a settlement?" he asked. I replied that they should talk, but with the judge. My mother was the last to react. I thought she'd stay out of it, hiding behind her usual "I didn't know." But 2 days later, she posted a status on Facebook. White background, black text, 3 paragraphs. Sometimes, your children turn against you, no matter how much you loved them. I raised them alone, when no one else was there. I was there for them through every hardship. And this is how they thank me, by suing their own family for money. Those who know me know the truth. 63 reactions. They were all family members. They were all accomplices. What no one knew was that I had already sent a separate package to Child Protective Services. Do you remember the apartment? Rebecca had custody of her 2 children, the same ones she left alone during her getaways while I paid the bills. Screenshots, dates, photographs. In less than 72 hours, CPS opened a case. I didn't even have to speak. The images did it for me. And yet, none of them called me. Not to apologize, not to justify anything. Just silence. Until the news broke. It was published in a local newspaper. A small column in the metropolitan section. Family dispute over SATA ownership. Fraud investigation. Civil lawsuit for identity theft. No names were mentioned, but the image was unmistakable. Rebecca, on the courthouse steps, wearing sunglasses, a hood, and with her head down. That same night I received a voicemail from him. It wasn't a call, just a recording. You ruined everything. Are you happy now? You were always envious. I saved it immediately and added it to a folder I titled Last Words. But the real satisfaction didn't come from the court case, or the property freeze, or the hearings. What calmed me was seeing them despair. My father tried to sell one of his trucks, only to discover his accounts were frozen. Rebecca wanted to rent out her apartment, but was rejected. The property was plagued by financial disputes. My mother started a GoFundMe campaign titled Single Mother Victim of Her Own Son. It raised $47. 47, I didn't answer them. I didn't comment. I didn't make excuses. I just moved forward. I launched the project I'd been putting off for years because they always needed something. I started my own firm, small, agile, digital from the start, and completely remote. I called it Recovery Group. I chose that name for two reasons. First, because that was exactly what I was doing, recovering. Second, because I knew that one day Rebecca would Google it and realize she wasn't invited. I didn't tell anyone, but my first client was a non-profit organization dedicated to fighting cybercrime. I was asked to participate as a speaker at an event next spring. The panel's title is, What Happens When the Threat Comes From Within? I accepted. And when I signed the agreement as a speaker, I used a completely new signature. One I had never used before. One they couldn't forge, because it no longer belonged to me. A week after that day at the restaurant, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. It was legal size, with a handwritten label and no return address. Inside was a letter from my parents' lawyer. The tone was weak, syrupy, and evasive. Given the emotional state of all parties involved, our clients believe it would be wise to explore a less adversarial solution to this conflict. In other words, they wanted to get rid of everything without facing consequences. They were looking for a way out without taking responsibility. They were betting that my anger would subside. That I would remember birthdays. That I would give in. They still didn't understand. I didn't reply. Instead, I went to the website of a small nonprofit I'd saved months earlier, the Restart Initiative, dedicated to helping adults escape abusive family situations, both financial and emotional. Its donation page contained a single sentence. Return what was taken from you and reclaim what is yours. I entered the amount. $1,340. A symbolic amount. Every digit counted. 134, the thousands they stole from me. 0, the remaining opportunities one had to offer them. I pressed donate. The confirmation appeared. Donation completed. Anonymous donor. I took a screenshot and posted it on Instagram. No caption, just the image of the receipt. Gray background. The amount, $1,340. And a simple thank you for your support. 30 minutes later, my mother called me. I didn't answer. An hour later, Rebecca wrote to me. What does that post mean? Is it another attack? I didn't even open the message. I blocked her. The next day, I updated my company's website. Below the logo, I simply added a sentence, some families break you. Others teach you how to rebuild yourself. Without names. Without explanations. The truth is, that night, Jacques, Rebecca's ex, wrote to me for the first time in months. I saw your post. Brother, you did it. I replied. I didn't finish it, I surpassed it. And that was the real difference. There was no explosion, no last-minute drama, no witnesses screaming in a courtroom. Just silence. A dense, absolute, impeccable silence. They stopped calling me. They stopped publishing. I stopped pretending. I was already out of his reach and in my own life. I changed my number. I moved into the apartment I'd been secretly remodeling for months. Even the dog, the one I'd once given to Rebecca, now lived with me. His name was Chance, because everyone deserves at least one chance, even if not everyone gets it. This morning, I sat by the window with a cup of coffee. No fake chats, no calls asking for favors, no affection disguised as demands. Just peace. I opened the hard drive I had stored in the attic. For the last time, I went through every folder, every lie, every manipulated audio file, every fake screenshot, every digital betrayal. And I deleted them one by one. Until only one file remained. MP3 family. I right-clicked. Delete. Then I emptied the trash. The system asked me, "Are you sure you want to permanently delete family MP3?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was perfect. Yes, I was sure. They took everything they could from me. And I transformed it into something they can never touch. Peace. Not just the absence of noise. The absence of them. I'm no longer the backup plan. Not the investor. Not the repairman. Not the son they could manipulate or call at will. Now I am just a man. A man with silence and a receipt.